Good evening. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Welcome to Truth Report. Tonight, we're covering 4 stories that reveal something deeply disturbing about artificial intelligence in 2026. It's not just changing how we work or communicate anymore. It's being weaponized by governments, it's destroying the infrastructure of open source security, and it's evaporating years of human labor with a single click.
We're going to take our time with this. These aren't just tech stories. They're about power, accountability, and what happens when the tools we're told will make us more productive become instruments of propaganda and chaos.
Let's start with something that should terrify anyone who believes in a free press or government accountability. Last week, the White House posted a doctored photograph to its official X account. Not a parody account. Not a meme page. The official White House.
The photo showed Nekema Levy Armstrong, a Minnesota civil rights attorney and former president of the Minneapolis NAACP. She'd been arrested during a protest against ICE at a church in St. Paul. The original photo, posted by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, showed Armstrong looking ahead calmly, dignified, as she was taken into custody.
The White House version showed her openly weeping. Tears running down her face. Distressed. Broken. And they labeled her a far-left agitator who was orchestrating church riots. According to reporting from The Intercept, they used Google's generative AI tools to alter her face and emotional state.
Here's how we know it was AI generated. The Intercept used a program called SynthID, created by Google itself, that identifies hidden markers embedded by Google's AI image generation tools. SynthID confirmed the manipulation. Google's own technology caught Google's own tools being used to create government propaganda.
Think about what this means. The White House didn't just spin a narrative or cherry-pick unflattering footage. They used artificial intelligence to literally change reality, to manufacture an emotional state that didn't exist, and they broadcast that fabricated reality to millions of people as fact.
Armstrong's attorney, Jordan Kushner, described her as calm, rational, and dignified during the arrest. That didn't fit the narrative the White House wanted to sell. So they changed her face. They made her look weak. They made her look like she was sobbing during a perp walk.
And when confronted about this, when CNN's Daniel Dale confirmed that the White House had posted a fake image, what was the response? White House Deputy Communications Director Kalen Dorr called it a meme. He said, and I quote, "Enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue."
A meme. They're calling state-generated propaganda that alters a citizen's appearance to discredit her political activism a meme. This is textbook authoritarian behavior dressed up in internet culture language. It's what happens in countries we used to point to as examples of what America wasn't.
Let's be clear about the context here. Armstrong was protesting because an ICE officer serves as pastor at City's Church in St. Paul. She and other activists interrupted a Sunday service. You can debate the tactics. But she was exercising her First Amendment rights in response to ICE enforcement actions, including the fatal shooting of Renee Good earlier that month.
She was charged under the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, a 1994 law originally designed to restrict anti-abortion protesters. The irony is crushing. A law meant to protect abortion access is now being used to prosecute someone protesting immigration enforcement at a church.
And instead of letting the arrest speak for itself, instead of trusting that their narrative about law and order would hold, the White House decided they needed to humiliate her. They needed to show her crying. They needed to break her down visually in a way that reality hadn't provided.
This isn't about Nekema Levy Armstrong's guilt or innocence. This is about the United States government using AI to fabricate evidence of emotional distress for propaganda purposes. And they're not hiding it. They're bragging about it. The memes will continue. That's a threat. That's them telling us this is the new normal.
Now let's talk about the second story. It seems technical at first, but stay with me because the implications are enormous. Daniel Stenberg, the creator of curl, one of the most important open source tools in internet infrastructure, announced that the project is ending its bug bounty program at the end of January 2026.
For those who don't know, curl is a command line tool used to transfer data with URLs. It's in virtually everything, billions of installations, from your phone to web servers to embedded systems. When we talk about critical internet infrastructure, curl is in that conversation.
Bug bounty programs are how open source projects incentivize security researchers to find vulnerabilities responsibly. You find a real security flaw, you report it privately, the maintainers fix it, and you get paid. For 6 years, curl's program distributed $86,000 across 78 confirmed vulnerabilities.
That program is now dead. Not because they don't value security. Not because they don't want to find bugs. But because artificial intelligence has made it impossible to operate. According to reporting from the Register and Bleeping Computer, in just the first 21 days of 2026, curl received 20 AI-generated bug reports. 7 arrived in a single week. None described actual vulnerabilities.
Let me emphasize that. None of them were real. They were AI-generated garbage, what Stenberg calls slop. Large language models hallucinating security vulnerabilities, submitting them through HackerOne, the bug bounty platform, creating an avalanche of work for a small team of volunteer maintainers.
Stenberg started complaining about this in early 2024. By mid-2025, roughly 20% of all submissions were AI slop. In July 2025, submissions surged to 8 times the normal rate. And it just kept getting worse.
Here's what he said in the commit message ending the program: "We are just a small single open source project with a small number of active maintainers. It is not in our power to change how all these people and their slot machines work. We need to make moves to ensure our survival and intact mental health."
Intact mental health. That's the language of someone being psychologically battered by automation. These aren't sophisticated attacks. They're just volume. Floods of nonsense reports that look plausible enough that someone has to read them, analyze them, determine their garbage, and reject them. Over and over and over.
And here's the thing: the people submitting these reports are doing it because there's a financial incentive. Bug bounties pay money. So someone, somewhere, figured out they could automate the process. Point an LLM at a codebase, tell it to find vulnerabilities, have it generate reports, submit them in bulk, and hope something sticks.
It's the security equivalent of email spam, except instead of Nigerian princes, it's hallucinated buffer overflows. And instead of deleting it from your inbox, you have to carefully evaluate each one, because if you miss a real vulnerability, people could get hurt.
The result is that one of the most important pieces of internet infrastructure just lost a major mechanism for discovering security flaws. Starting February 1st, curl will only accept security reports through GitHub. No payments. Just the goodwill of researchers who care about the project.
And you know what's going to happen. Fewer reports. Fewer vulnerabilities discovered. Because most security researchers can't afford to work for free. Bug bounties exist because finding vulnerabilities is skilled labor that deserves compensation.
So AI hasn't made security better. It's made it worse. It's destroyed the economic model that made responsible disclosure possible for a critical open source project. And curl isn't alone. Other projects are watching this and wondering how long until they have to make the same choice.
Let's move to the third story, because it's a gut punch. When 2 years of academic work vanished with a single click. This is from Nature, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world, and it's about a researcher named Marcel Bucher.
Bucher is a professor of plant molecular physiology at the University of Cologne and a member of the CEPLA's Cluster of Excellence. For 2 years, he used ChatGPT extensively in his work. Not to replace his thinking, but as a productivity tool. Writing emails, drafting course descriptions, structuring grant applications, revising publications, preparing lectures, creating exams, analyzing student responses.
He organized everything into project folders. 2 years of carefully structured academic labor, all stored in ChatGPT's interface. And then in August, he made a decision that seemed reasonable. He wanted to see if he'd still have access to all the functions if he temporarily disabled the data consent option.
The moment he clicked that button, everything was deleted. Every chat. Every project folder. 2 years of work. Gone. No warning appeared. No confirmation dialog asking, "Are you sure you want to permanently delete all your data?" Just instant, irreversible deletion.
He had assumed, not unreasonably, that basic safeguards would be in place. A warning about irreversible deletion. A recovery option. Backups. Redundancy. The kind of protections you expect from any professional software platform, let alone one being used by researchers worldwide.
Fortunately, he had saved partial copies of some conversations and materials. But large parts of his work were lost forever. And here's what makes this even more insidious: OpenAI designed it this way. If you turn off data sharing for privacy, all previous transcripts and projects are permanently deleted without warning.
Think about the perverse incentive structure here. OpenAI wants your data. They want to train their models on your conversations, your work, your intellectual labor. So they've built a system where protecting your privacy means destroying your work.
It's not a bug. It's not an oversight. It's a feature designed to punish you for asserting control over your own data. You want privacy? Fine. But we're taking everything you've built with us as collateral.
And this is happening to researchers. People who are using these tools to advance human knowledge. Grant applications that could fund critical scientific work. Teaching materials that could educate the next generation of scientists. Publication drafts representing months of analysis.
Bucher case is getting attention because Nature published it. But how many other researchers have lost work this way? How many didn't have backups? How many spent weeks or months reconstructing materials from memory?
Here's the broader pattern: these AI companies are selling themselves as infrastructure. As essential tools for productivity, for research, for education. But they're not building with the reliability or accountability we expect from infrastructure.
If your email provider deleted 2 years of messages because you changed a privacy setting, there would be lawsuits. There would be regulatory investigations. But OpenAI can do it, call it a terms of service issue, and face no consequences.
And researchers are left in an impossible position. These tools genuinely can enhance productivity if used carefully. But trusting them means accepting that your work could vanish at any moment based on a design decision made by a company that has every incentive to punish privacy-conscious users.
Now, our fourth story. On the surface, it seems like pure science. A paper published on AR14 about using convolutional LSTM neural networks as surrogates for mesoscale hydrocode simulations of granular wave propagation.
I know that's a mouthful. Let me translate. When you shoot something at granular materials, sand or powder, for example, you get complex wave propagation, pore collapse, grain-scale rearrangements. Understanding this is important for material science, industrial applications, and yes, weapons development.
Traditionally, you simulate this with mesoscale hydrocodes. These are extremely accurate but computationally expensive. They take forever to run, which limits your ability to do parametric studies or uncertainty quantification. You can't explore the full range of conditions efficiently.
So researchers developed an AI surrogate. A convolutional LSTM neural network that learns spatiotemporal patterns from a short history of pressure images and forecasts subsequent dynamics. It generalizes to unseen combinations of impact positions and velocities. And it's fast.
The paper itself is academically rigorous. The researchers did solid work. But here's what we need to talk about. This technology enables accelerated exploration of parameter space for shock loading applications. And shock loading applications include explosives, ballistics, and armor penetration.
The paper doesn't explicitly discuss dual-use implications. There's no ethical framework. No discussion of safeguards. It's presented as pure science, which it is, but pure science has consequences when it makes weapons development faster and cheaper.
And this is the paradox of AI in scientific research. The same technology that could help us design better protective equipment or safer industrial processes can also optimize kinetic weapons. The same models that accelerate legitimate material science can be repurposed for military applications.
We're not saying the researchers did anything wrong. We're saying there's a gap. A missing conversation about what happens when AI doesn't just help us do science faster, but helps us do potentially destructive science faster.
Because here's the thing, this isn't hypothetical. These models exist. They work. They're being published in open literature. And anyone with sufficient computational resources can reproduce them.
Now let's connect these stories, because that's what we do here. We don't just report the news. We find the pattern. And the pattern across all four of these stories is the same: AI is being deployed without accountability, and the people who suffer are those with the least power to fight back.
The White House uses Google AI to humiliate a civil rights activist. Google provides the tools, provides the detection mechanism, but faces no consequences for enabling government propaganda. Armstrong is released from custody, but the doctored image has already circulated to millions. The damage is done.
Open source maintainers, the volunteers who keep the internet running, are being psychologically battered by AI-generated spam. The incentive structure of bug bounties, which worked for years, collapses under the weight of automated slop. And the security of critical infrastructure suffers because we can't separate signal from noise anymore.
Researchers who trusted AI companies to act like professional software platforms lose years of work because those companies designed their systems to punish privacy. The data economy demands your consent, and if you withdraw it, they take everything as revenge.
And scientists developing AI surrogates for weapons-relevant research publish without ethical frameworks because the incentive structure of academic publishing doesn't require it. The knowledge spreads, the applications multiply, and we don't have the safeguards in place to prevent misuse.
Here's what all of this tells us. We are living through the collapse of institutional trustworthiness in the age of AI. The government lies with manufactured images. The tech companies delete your work. The security infrastructure crumbles under automated spam. And the scientific establishment publishes dual-use research without public debate.
And what's the response? From the White House, the memes will continue. From OpenAI, silence, a terms of service shrug. From bug bounty platforms, no systemic solution to AI slop. From the scientific community, publish and hope someone else worries about ethics.
This is what unchecked AI deployment looks like. Not sci-fi scenarios about artificial general intelligence. Not distant fears about superintelligence. Just power being exercised more efficiently, more ruthlessly, with less accountability.
The tools are here. The harm is happening now. And the people who build these systems, who profit from them, who deploy them, are not being held responsible for the damage they cause.
So what do? First, we demand accountability. The White House shouldn't be allowed to call government propaganda a meme and move on. OpenAI shouldn't be allowed to design systems that punish privacy without regulatory scrutiny. HackerOne and similar platforms need AI detection and filtering mechanisms, not just policies.
Second, we support the people on the front lines. Open source maintainers need funding and institutional support. They're not just hobby projects. They're critical infrastructure. If we can bail out banks, we can fund the software that runs the internet.
Third, we need ethical frameworks for AI-assisted research that aren't optional. If your work has dual-use implications, that needs to be disclosed, debated, and reviewed. Not after publication. Before.
And fourth, we need to recognize that privacy and functionality shouldn't be mutually exclusive. If your business model requires punishing users for protecting their data, your business model is coercive. Full stop.
These aren't impossible demands. They're basic expectations of accountability in a functional society. But right now, we're not getting them. We're getting memes and slop and deleted work and weapons research without guardrails.
The pattern persists because we let it. Because we treat each story as isolated rather than systemic. Because we accept the framing that this is just how technology works, as if these outcomes were inevitable rather than designed.
They're not inevitable. They're choices. The White House chose to doctor that photo. OpenAI chose to design deletion as punishment. The spammers chose to flood bug bounties with AI slop. And all of us are choosing, right now, whether to accept this or demand better.
That's our show. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Don't let them tell you this is just how things are. It's how things are when we don't fight back. Stay informed. Stay angry. And hold power accountable.
Truth Report will be back next week. Until then, question everything.